Did you know that the average business professional is interrupted 56 times per day? That's roughly every 11 minutes. And even more staggering, studies show that we interrupt ourselves nearly 44% of the time. These interruptions are not just annoying, they are killing your peak performance potential. That's why today in our Intro to Flow Mastery series, we're going to dive deep into flow blockers. These are those invisible barriers standing between you and that optimal state you desire to achieve. So stay tuned through the whole thing, because at the end of this, I'm going to give you access to the guest area of my site, and that will give you access into a mini course on clinically proven ways to end distractions. So definitely hold on for that. We're going to really deep dive there. The great news is, no matter how overwhelming those distractions seem, there is a proven way to eliminate them. And if being able to access flow state is your desire, you're definitely going to need this skill set. Here's what's fascinating about these flow blockers. They're not just annoyances, they're psychological and environmental factors that literally prevent your brain from producing the neurochemicals needed for flow. So when you understand this, you realize that what's been feeling like a willpower problem for you is actually a systems problem. And the great news is systems can be fixed. I show my clients how to do this all the time. The biggest blockers for business professionals aren't what you might expect. There are the external distractions like notifications, those do matter, but the real killers are internal. Things like self-doubt, perfectionism, and what I like to call the complexity trap. This is when we're unknowingly making things much harder than they actually need to be. So let's talk numbers. Research shows that after our attention is broken, it takes an average of 23 minutes to get back into deep focus. And so for a busy professional, that is not just lost time, it is truly lost opportunity. Every time you switch between tasks, check that notification or let a little bit of self-doubt creep in and shift your focus from the project you earnestly need to be completing, you're not just losing minutes, you're losing your chance to have that breakthrough performance. But here's what's exciting. When you remove those blockers, you don't just get better at entering into flow state, you actually become more resistant to future distractions. It's like building mental immunity to interruptions. It's so powerful. So for business professionals, these are the top flow killers. Listen to the list and see where you might identify some of yours. The first is, of course, digital distractions. This isn't just notifications. This is also the anxiety of being unavailable. You can't imagine the amount of times clients tell me that they are afraid to be unavailable, even for short periods of time. The second is switching tasks. There is a huge false belief within business professionals that multitasking is productive, but it's proven over and over again, it actually is not. Third, this is often surprising, it's having unclear outcomes. Not having a crystal clear picture of what success looks like leads to therefore spending time wandering rather than executing. And that wandering gives us an open field to distraction. Last is performance anxiety. This pressure to maintain your high-achieving reputation and deliver results over and over again can create overwhelm and stress that blocks you from being able to drop into flow. So, can you relate to any of these? Or let me guess, maybe all of them? If so, here is your quick win for today. I call it the Focus Fortress technique. So before starting your next important task, what I want you to do is take 2 minutes to use the technique that I introduced yesterday. You can always just go back to and review that in the playlist, but here's a quick recap of what we covered. First, remember, you've got to determine the exact next step required in your current project that you're trying to focus in. You're going to break it down to micro sub-steps. I want you to write those down in order. And remember, the smaller the steps, the better. This helps you with the flow trigger. Now, the next step is to determine how long you think it's logically going to take you to finish these first steps you've written down. And then I want you to compress that time by 3 to 5%. Again, this helps with another flow trigger. This upping the challenge helps us drop into flow a little bit easier. Now, again, specific important note here is it's just a little bit of upping the challenge, 3 to 5%. That's it. Then you're going to eliminate notifications, distractions, etc. on your computer by doing a do not disturb on your computer. Take your phone out of the room that you're working in. Trust me, even if your notifications aren't going off on your phone is a distraction. Remove it. Mentally, we need the space away from it. Now all you got to do is just set a timer and go. But as powerful as those steps are, I'm guessing you have all tried some version of this process before, and you've likely still gave into the distractions before you could drop into flow. And that is common, and that's why the next step is what I walk my clients through is a hybrid of cognitive behavioral therapy and coaching tools that I've mashed together. Now, these are clinically proven to stop compulsive or addictive impulses. So if it can handle that level of impulse, it can definitely handle your phone addiction, your distraction addiction, your, procrastination addiction. So of course, because of the time, I can't go into the full fortress here. You're just gonna have to follow that link in the video description for a more thorough walkthrough. But for now, here is one part of the fortress called surfing the urge. Again, I didn't make this up. This is just some cognitive behavioral therapy and coaching tools that are used in things like addiction therapy. I'm only going to get to share a very simplistic explanation here because it's fully covered in the link below. But just applying this by itself should mean that you'll see a significant improvement. So first, you want to recognize the urge. When you first feel that urge to distract yourself, whether it's checking your phone or going to grab something to eat or engaging in any other habitual behavior that's pulling you away from your focus, just pause and acknowledge it. The first step is simply to notice the feeling or the thought that's driving you to act, that urge, if you will. Maybe you want to check your email or your phone really quick, or you decide, I just need to grab a quick snack to tide me over. Or my personal favorite, I can't even tell you the amount of times I used to use this one. That is to say to myself, well, I better just see if so-and-so needs anything before I really get involved here. Oh my goodness. So when it hits, just acknowledge it. Don't judge it. Don't try to wrestle with it. Just acknowledge it. And I know that sounds funny. It sounds all woo-woo. If you know me, you know I'm not into new woo-woo. I'm into neurological science, but it's not. It really isn't. The research on people using this method to quit smoking and quit drinking alcohol, it's mind-blowing. So just trust the process and do these steps I'm going to walk you through today. Next, now that you've noticed the urge, you're just going to surf it. While you're waiting this out, the help practice that addiction therapy uses is to think of this like riding a wave. So the urge might feel like a really intense wave at first, but it's been shown that the average temptation passes on its own in 5 to 7 minutes. If it's not fought, that's key. If it's not fought. Usually it never lasts longer than 20 minutes. So the reality is if you just stay curious about the urge and you remain focused on your task, the temptation to distract yourself will fade away. And you're definitely going to want to take this pro tip away to really help you ward off the urge. The desire to distract is actually a sign that you're close to dropping into flow. So hang on. The more intense that distraction urge is, the closer you are to actually dropping into that blissful state of flow. Acceptance commitment therapy techniques of riding this urge shows that there's a couple helpful practices. And one of them is just as simple as focusing on your breath while simply acknowledging this is uncomfortable, but I can handle it. But other ways are to mentally see those waves of urge that are coming to you as waves in the ocean. Something that's coming on strong, raising up, maybe higher and higher, that eventually are going out with the tide, and acknowledging it as those waves lower and then create that distance between you and the horizon. No longer in your mental space or emotionally pulling you. As you notice it come up and then pull out to the horizon, that can be a very powerful practice as your brain recognizes even when this gets high, it eventually gets low and subsides. As you're surfing the urge and just noticing how it shifts and fades over time, just remember that it's not your job to eliminate this discomfort. It's just your job to ride through it. That is key. Another favorite, and I think this one is just as powerful as the waves, is simply practicing visualizing a stream with leaves floating down it. As those distractions, those urges, that habitual pull to stop comes over you, take that urge, take that desire to distract, and put each one of those urges on a leaf and just watch them gracefully float away in your mind's eye down that stream, removing that from your space to the leaf and then down the stream and watching it just gloriously fade. Again, I know this all sounds nuts, but research in neuroplasticity shows that when we practice mindfulness and acceptance, like I'm suggesting here today, we actually rewire our brains to be better at managing discomforts. And when we can train our brains to tolerate discomfort without acting on it, that is a powerful tool for overcoming habits that we want to change. And you guys, it really does change you. I've seen it time and time again with my clients, and I absolutely live these results day in and day out myself. I know that was a really quick run through on this one aspect of the focus fortress, but just find the link in the description and I'm going to give you the rest of the pieces to this tool in that video. This fortress of focus routine has helped my clients increase their focus work by 40% or more. So you definitely want to give this a try. Understanding the flow blockers is just one of the pieces of the puzzle though. Think of it this way. You wouldn't try to fill a bucket with water before you were plugging the holes. The same goes for flow. Sometimes the fastest way to improve is to stop the leaks first. We're going to continue to visit the other pieces of the flow state puzzle in the coming days. So definitely follow me or hit the notification bell, subscribe, all the things. But remember, if you're ready to identify your personal flow blockers, go ahead and click that link below to get access to the advanced version of the Focus Fortress technique that my top performing clients are using. And guys, much of peak performance isn't about pushing harder. It's actually about removing the barriers that are holding you back. So I hope today's video helps you do just that. Definitely leave me a message below if you have any questions. I'd love to explore those with you.